Leandra Brown, Terius Harris, Mayana Minahal, Kaua Zabala Moore, Clarissa Torres, Kalika Ayin, Brittany Friedlander, and Jessica Watkins. This is the story of the Cebuano Language and Culture Program that happened in the Philippines from June 13 to July 23, 2022. This was a grant from the Fulbright Hayes Group Projects Abroad from the U.S. Department of Education. It was awarded to Chaminade University for educators to learn Cebuano, a language considered an LCT, or less commonly taught language. We left the paradise of Honolulu to go to another paradise in the Pacific, the Philippines. We left to learn Bisaya. It is officially called Cebuano as a language since this is spoken in the Visayan Islands. We traveled to Negros Oriental, Cebu, Bohol, and Apo Island. We had completed pre-departure orientation workshops and knew our tasks that we needed to accomplish. First, learn the Cebuano language, produce a creative product to teach the Cebuano language, perhaps a song, a creative video, a vlog, or a children's book, and embed what they choose as a creative vehicle in the teaching of the Cebuano language into a lesson plan for K-12 classrooms. We arrived on June 14, followed by an orientation in Manila at the U.S. Embassy with Roach Miguel and Julie Washburn, who scheduled speakers on Philippine culture. The participants were reminded that they were just like U.S. diplomats. Respectful behavior towards a new culture will guide us. Our success depended on how we can be flexible in adjusting and immersing into the new culture. While in Manila, we also spent time at the Philippine Anthropology Museum. There we learned about the local ethnic groups and various language groups of the Philippines and the Visayas. We saw intricate woven baskets, clothing, language maps, and many more. Culture was revealed to us in the tools they used for hunting, the different knives from ancient times and present-day Filipinos, what they used, and these were designed in intricate designs, implements that would help them carry on with their daily lives. The opening program was held at Silliman Hall. Kaua Noe Anuhea Zabala Moore, a Filipina Hawaiian, opened the prayer for us for sacred spaces in an oli. And then, the most significant moment was the first meeting of our participants with their teacher partners from Apo Island. It was like they had always known each other before. We met all the key personnel of the entire program. Introductions were made, and we met Dr. Earl Jude Cleope,
Welcome to Silliman Campus by the Sea,
the Vice President for Academic Affairs of Silliman University, and the Program Evaluator of the Cebuano Language and Culture Program. Soon we designed and equipped a classroom in our hotel where the daily language lessons were delivered. Everyone learned how to introduce themselves in Visayan. Dr. Hope Sabanpanyu, director of the Cebuano Studies Center, led the language studies. She equipped the participants with survival lines so that they could begin their research and explorations into Apo's coral reef, mangroves, and fishing. So we sailed to Apo Island on our second week. There were many things I prepared the Fulbright participants for, but there were also other things we learned as they came our way. Especially the tides. Low tide and high tide changed how we mounted the boats. They were surprised that they had to wade into the water and held up by different hands, bamboo, and a few Cebuano directions to get on board. We were welcomed warmly in Apo. Giabi-abi gayud kami sa mga taga-Apo.
Lingkod. Bangko sa sir. Sir, bangko. So hopefully guys, you will be having a good time and a beautiful memories. Mama-cherish ninyo.
In the K-12 classrooms of Apo, we learned about their work, their projects, and their plans. We were very fortunate that they were able to accommodate us as their school year was coming to a close. So the classrooms were still open and the students were still in attendance. Our participants were introduced to the students of Apo. We were also introduced to the project of Sir Brian on bulad making, the favorite of many Filipinos, the always inviting dried fish. The bulad is a native delicacy in the Visayas. Brittany Friedlander, who partnered with Sir Brian, decided to make a project on food sustainability, focusing on the making of the dried fish.
Isla sa Apo Island. Good afternoon. This is the island of Apo. Limpion hog kuhahon ang tinae og hasong sa ista. Human sa duha ka oras, ibulad ang ista ilalom sa init sa adlaw. Keron na human na ang paghimo sa bulad. Amping!
Apo Elementary School teachers and Apo High School teachers welcomed us into their homes, their island, their ocean, and into their hearts. Every day that we were there, we walked through the neighborhoods to go to school or to the ocean. We snorkeled underwater to watch, to learn, and especially connect with the animals. On land, the singing, the greetings of maayong gabi, maayong buntag, maayong hapon were repeated, increasing in warmth and intensity. Carrying on as the days went along, there was a growing sense of being part of it all. As warm as their smiles, as warm as the sea, we finally became part of their daily lives. Night and day, noon or midday, our senses were educated, entertained, and surprised with new things. Mayana wrote a poem using hainaku, a poetic format invented by Eileen Tabios, composed of 1 word for the first line, 2 words for the second line, and 3 words for the third line.
Ulan grasya sa panudlanan, Isla Apo. Rain blesses barrels on Apo Island. Nagpahumot sugnod sa tamis nga budbud. Wood fire fragrances, sweet sticky rice budbud.
Which they tried with the Apo pupils of her partner, Ma'am Annalyn Abelia.
Butterfly, flying, dancing, happiness around us.
The memories of those deliveries will last forever. Dr. Eileen Maipa, our key personnel for coral reef and fishing in Apo, prepared us well. Dr. Maipa prepared the permissions to do research and study in the island, gave us an overall perspective of our week ahead. Dr. Corina Camaso assisted Dr. Maipa and later on gave us a talk on intellectual property. Andrian Gajigan taught us how to use portable microscopes. We collected ocean water to see planktons and other living things from this rich gel of water that we love to swim into. When one is new to Apo, it seems like any small island in the Pacific. Upon our arrival, it looked like any of the tiny islands in the Pacific. Boats and houses lined the shoreline. But the iconic big rock that greets the boat always catches the eye. And so on our first day, my main goal was for everyone to see what was underwater. When they did see what was underwater, it astounded them. I have seen this before as a young student at Cebuano University, and they never failed to amaze. We saw hundreds of different coral species. We saw turtles and fish and shells that we had never seen before. Still, the beauty of its immense natural resources is always one to behold. We made sure that each participant had a guide around the reef. The Apo Island Snorkeling Equipment Rental and Guide Association is a community group that helps and guides responsible tourism activity on the island. And they were there to always guide us. We were greeted by the turtles, and even one guide was telling us, "Tanawa day, niduol siya nimo, ganahan siyang matig ila-ila, ganahan siyang imong maamigo." They were talking about a turtle that was coming towards us, and the guide says, "Look, it's coming towards you. It wants to know you more. It is coming over to be a friend." The Apo teachers partnered with all 9 of us to learn the language, to identify our K-12 learning standards, to finish a creative product, and most of all, to learn about the culture through the speaking of the Cebuano language. Kalika, who had always kept her goal of understanding Filipino families, learned how to make the binignit for the St. John's Day celebrations. This is a merienda meal made of root crops, sweet rice, banana, and coconut milk. She created a vlog.
Maayong adlaw. Ako si Kalika.
Ako si Rose. Magtutudlo kami.
Kami magama o binignit.
And her own creative video about the tight-knit families and used binignit as a metaphor in her product.
Dayun hiwa-hiwaon kining kingangmay. Ang sunod, ilunod ang pilit. Kung muhumok na ang pilit pwede nang ibutang ang apara o kamote. Dayun o kayun kini.
Her work with Ma'am Francia Rose was so fulfilling for both of them. The St. John's Day celebrations is always on June 24. Now, this was a gift for us because it was just part of the scheduling that we were there, and this became a pleasant surprise. All the families were making lots of food for everyone in the island to partake. They all lined up on the shoreline under wood and bamboo beach huts and invited everyone. Everyone could eat in any family's preparation. Each of the participants woke up early to start preparing food with their respective partners' families. We were blessed with water that day. Everybody sprayed water to everybody, and the happy reefs were in front of all of the people of Apo, and they were all celebrating together. Kalika's vlog on YouTube is now followed by many Visayans around the world. The link will be provided at the end of this video. Every day we walk to school for daily language lessons and partner interactions. The Apo Elementary School and the Apo High School served as our venue. We scheduled the lectures near the time when electricity came on, which was around 6 p.m. Then we hurried to write and do consultations before 10 p.m. before the generators were turned off. 3 times during the first week in Apo, we woke up around 4 a.m. to watch the fishermen go out to sea, and we waited for them to return with their catch. We held the fish and felt its weight and learned their names. We learned how to carry the boat out to sea and paddled. Most early mornings when we woke up at 4 a.m. and met the fishermen, we learned more Visayan words. We learned to paddle their homemade boats. We paddled with them and paddled with the fishermen around the curves of the island of Apo. Terius Harris,
Ako si Terius, Ethnomathematics Maestro sa Hawaii, Maukini ang Kayutaan sa Apo Island,
worked with the fishermen and watched and learned how to sew nets. His interest in the sewing of the nets, the shapes, sizes, and depths of things showed in his creative products. Terius spoke the Cebuano he was learning to the fishermen, and as he learned one thing, it led him to want to learn more. He and his partner, Ma'am Sherry Lee, also a math teacher, worked on geometric elements of the payag. This is the local nipa hut. They built this with students and became part of the final presentation in the closing program. As the days went on, we became comfortable doing our daily walks around the neighborhood. We worked with our partner teachers, and soon some ideas started forming and shaping in the week we were there. Some ideas went to the back burner, but others grew as conversations about how creative products can be produced to celebrate the ideas and ways of life we were witnessing can actually be taught. We talked about what is creativity and why would this help us deliver the language of the Cebuanos more effectively in the classroom. As they shared with one another, collaborated, and contributed to each other's thoughts, things started to take shape. A bigger picture was beginning to form. Our animal partners in the ocean must have heard us talking about them because they became more alive in our thoughts, the turtles, the corals, and the fishes. As every day moved, so did the closeness of the participants and their Apo counterparts grow. I began to relax as they would walk around Apo Island with much more confidence and comfort, managing their own challenges and adjusting with a strength I hope they will always be proud of. One night, I asked the Belfry Studios to set up lights and audio to do an interview with Liberty Pascobello. Liberty is the owner of the lodge. Liberty is the first barangay captain challenged to start the creation of the marine sanctuary in Apo. She was only 19 years old. It was, for me, a historical event. In this interview, we talked about many things. Liberty was inspired by our program, not only because of our growing love for Apo, but our desire to succeed in learning the Cebuano language. We returned to Apo on our 5th week with drafts of our creative products. We came to confer with the partners, to practice our words again, how they might be heard by our future students in Hawaii, and how our teacher partners may see them as a reflection of our experience. We practiced and practiced and practiced. The participants found it hard. They struggled and they prevailed. Their Cebuano words were now becoming a part of their vocabulary, and practice was the only way. We held reviews and revisited our Apo partners, practicing the Cebuano words that were going to be taught as designed in the drafts of the lesson plans. Dr. Katrina Roseler gave a lecture on lesson planning, allowing us a much-needed review. With the Apo teachers, the conversation on lesson planning became a joint and collaborative process.
Hi, I'm Ervina Lucia Arambes, the school head of Apo Island High School. Kining programaha sa Fulbright Case Project, or the CLCP, naghatag ka na mo higayon sa pagpukaw sa tagsa-tagsa nga kasing-kasing ug hunahuna sa among mga kabataan sa Apo Island community, to really value the importance of culture and Cebuano language in our own context. Because of this project, we're able to establish functional activities that helps our learners to become more active and participative in the teaching-learning process. And if ever we're given a chance to work on this project again, we would like to assure that we are very much willing to embrace and do our best for the benefits of our learners. Because I believe that teaching is magical if you have the heart for it. Thank you.
Para sa Project Director, Dr. Eva Rose Washburn-Repollo, o sa iyang mga kauban, akong dakong pasalamat sa inyong pagkamaghihatagon sa mga regalo para sa among balay tungahan. Kami nalipay sa inyong dakong suporta o kabing papasalamaton kayo. Daghang salamat. God bless.
Now let's talk about herbal healing and indigenous remedies, another key component of our program. When we think about culture, we think about the ways groups of people have created language to name the tools and resources that help them to survive. The abundance and biodiversity of the flora and fauna of the Philippines is evident in the diverse resources and the myriad ways people feed and heal themselves with the natural elements growing around them. The cutting, the picking, peeling, or the hagpat. This is the way they peel the leaves out of the branches. These were all needed, and it took a lot of time. Sometimes I wanted to make sure we were able to meet our timelines, but such is not the culture of those who know that good things take time. A lot of what the eyes could see, smell, taste, touch were translated in the beginning of each class. Participants were taught the Cebuano words for cooking, utensils, and all the tools in the kitchen. But more than all this work, they had memories that are going to stay with them forever.
Hello, my name is Leandra Brown, and I have always had a love of plants since I was young while working in the garden with my grandmother.
Leandra's work
This love of
resulted in the
plants-
creation of an alphabet children's book on herbal plants that she worked on with Professor Rochi Cataylo. Mr. Don Layog, who did the illustrations for Terius and Jessica, also worked on the plants with Leandre. With Ma'am Annalie helping her along with the words to describe the plants, many more ideas and projects surfaced, and they wished they had more time to do everything they imagined. Towards the fourth day of our commute to Silliman University's Marina Clinic in Darwin, participants became more comfortable with the native kitchens, sitting on the bamboo floors, so that they could prepare everything that needed to be part of the cooking. Para ilang mapreparar ang tanang sagol, kinahanglan silang trabaho. They had to work to make sure all of these ingredients came together. We learned to tad-tad. We learned to hiwa, cut. We learned to ukay, stir, and to make ginger tincture. Salabat for coughing, to make fire and clean the branches of the calachuchi. We cooked and cleaned and ate the best, the freshest, and the healthiest foods for our bodies from Noemi, Pasita, and from Professor Rochi. Next is the mangroves. I had shared my children's book on mangroves with the participants during the pre-departure orientation in Honolulu. It's one of my favorite ocean living things. The trip to the Institute of Environmental and Marine Sciences at Silliman University was a very educational visit. Dr. Pablina Cadiz gave us a lecture on the mangroves and introduced Cebuano words to us. Her dedication and years of study on the many species of mangroves were translated into the context of our culture and language. It was translated in terms of how we live and how we use our natural resources. We understood its uses for the community, its scientific significance for sustainability and ecological balance, and the challenges mangroves are facing from corporate greed and lack of funding for its protection. The Cebuano Language and Culture Program endeavored to create a schedule that allowed the participants to visit their immersion places at least 2 times. Some we visited many times. We planned after the initial lecture at the Institute to visit another mangrove forest, the Talabong, a protected area of about 33 hectares in my hometown in Bais. Permissions were previously secured by Dr. Kaagi to enter these spaces before our arrival. As a protected area, tourists were not yet allowed to visit due to the ongoing repairs of the damages caused by the recent typhoon. Since Kaua had planted mangroves with the students in Apo, this visit to a 33-hectare mangrove forest was a revelation of its role in diversity. Kaua's connection and reconnection to the land and the water was expressed in a creative product that she created.
Kaunoy anuhea, ang salibo, gikan sa tapok sa dagat.
Videos of her activities ultimately became a creative product that she and Ma'am Marvina worked on in honor of her return to the land of her ancestors. We learned that the mangroves made possible the protection of the happy and whimsical lives of the dolphins and the whales in the Tamian Strait. They gave us a wonderful show that day. The time may have been short to learn more about the ecosystem, the impact of research work, and the lives protected. But because of these efforts, for Kaua, it allowed her to connect in very spiritual ways, which resulted in a creative product for her lesson plan. So, what is the study of the Filipino culture without understanding the music of their hearts? As students worked on their lesson plans under these various topics, they were also reviewing what is cultural about their lessons and how the words that will be taught can be taught in the context of the culture of the Philippines. But through all the research and exposure, music drove that home in a creative way. Many times during the 6 weeks, we visited the School of Music of the College of Performing and Visual Arts of Silliman University. Their teacher, Professor Matilda Limbaga Irojo. They sang Usahay about a longing for someone to love. Usahay, magandang ako. They sang Kung Duna Kay Kasakit about the ocean as the place to go to when one feels sad. And they sang Kinhason, a tongue twister aided by a bamboo percussion instrument played by Kalika. It's like a rap song of the variety of species of Philippine shells.
Hi, my name is Clarissa Torres. I'm currently a 8th grade science teacher here in Hawaii, and I was also a 2022 Fulbright Hayes Group Project Abroad participant, which focused on bringing Filipino language and culture back into our classrooms.
Because of this and her interest in water conservation, Clarissa Torres composed a song.
Sa una na kong pagabot sa isla sa Apo, yari-ari kayo sa magkatao.
Clarissa Torres finalized her plans to research more deeply into the water conservation efforts of Apo Island. In her walks, she recorded the ways people survived on a coral island without water. We ourselves brought water into our hotel rooms and conserved the water we used to bathe in and brush our teeth with. And yes, we were blessed because the tropical rains of the Philippines came and made a strong appearance. Clarissa discovered more. This allowed her to write a beautiful song about water conservation. Partner, Ma'am Kathleen, encouraged her with so much support, and Professor Matilda Irojo brought the music and the lyrics to life. Next, we went to Bohol. The visit to Bohol was primarily arranged through Mr. Victorino Ino Manalo, a cultural sage, my friend from the Tiempo shop. Scholarship on the work of art entered the world and its changes through the paintings and sculptures that compose centuries-old Spanish churches of Daoist, Baclayan, and many more. In the students' journal, they wrote about what they learned from Ino Manalo's lectures about art and the environment, society, culture, and the economy, which were always told quietly by these holy and majestic structures. But after the lectures, with a knowing eye, we left these churches in awe. We attended the Cebuano cultural puppet show in Casa Cecilia. And like in many other places, we saw more urnas, a miniature altar for saints. It's like a small version of the center of a church. Then we saw the river of Bohol and enjoyed the food and music provided for us in the cultural river cruise. We saw the smallest primate of the world, the tarsier, in the forests of Bohol. We continued to learn about the different ways tourists are learning about the culture of the Philippines, the history and the beliefs that are still forming its worldview. We also traveled to Cebu to swim with the biggest fish in the world, the whale shark, or locally known as the butanding. It was great to see the biggest fish after weeks of snorkeling. Our return to Apo to meet everyone one more time was a sweet reunion, as we tried to put in place everything that we were learning for all the hectic days of hard work. I think Jessica Watkins' children's book.
Hi, my name is Jessica Watkins and I was a participant of the Cebuano Language and Culture Program. I wrote a children's book called Si Dan Pawikan. Kini si Dan Pawikan ug iyang mama ug papa. Si Dan Pawikan muamin sa iyang inahan kung mauli sa balay. Si Dan Pawikan mulangoy sa dakong bukid paingon sa eskwelahan. Kini si Dan Pawikan kabala mo ihap malipayan sa dagat ug sa eskwelahan.
Which she worked on with her partner, Ma'am Amethyst, captures the children's playgrounds, the call of the tremendous gifts of the ocean, and the need to learn how to learn more in her story, Dan Pawikan. And finally, we thanked our partners, and also my partner, Sir Boyet, the principal of Apo Elementary School.
Maayong gabi sa tanan.
Worked hand in hand with me on the arrangement of the venues, the planning of the meetings, and the overall logistics in Apo Island.
Salamat sa tanang mga taga-Apo nga nihatag og pag-abi-abi kanamo.
Walay mga pulong mahimong kaigo sa among pagsapasalamat. Words are not enough to thank Apo Island and everyone who lives there. Salamat sa tanang nitabang namo diha sa Pilipinas. Thank you to all who helped us in the Philippines. Thank you to all who helped us here in Hawaii, Chaminade University, and Washington, D.C. The celebrations in Apo on our last night were filled with words that captured our bonds. We danced and we sang. We closed our program there with a big celebration on the shore with animals underwater listening to our singing of thanks. Many came, and we included the community, the snorkeling guides, the musicians who help us with our bamboo instruments, and the women of Apo who prepare the cultural meals for us. The fishermen also came. Yes, we achieved what we aimed for and more. Everyone completed their created products and lesson plans and passed the oral proficiency exam. Many exceeded expectations. Soon the program ended, and on July 21, the closing ceremony was held again at the Silliman Hall of Silliman University. There we sang again. Just about 6 weeks before, the opening ceremony was also filled with promise, and on July 21, dreams came true. We arrived Honolulu safely and felt accomplished. We are grateful to Chaminade University of Honolulu and the Fulbright Hayes Group Projects Abroad grant for making the Cebuano language and culture program possible. Nagpasalamat mi sa tanan nga nihimo nga sayon sa among dalan ug sa mga kasingkat. We thank everyone. Our journey easy and our hearts filled with love. Daghang salamat. Thank you very much.